Hello and welcome to our Friday webinar. Hey Lisa, welcome. We got Lisa Bono as our special guest today, our recurring special guest. Love it when you can join us. And today, for the Grey Way series, we are going to talk about an owner's guide to the avian vet visit. So I think it's an important topic to carry on with, because some birds probably don't mind going to the avian vet. Other birds might have an opinion of that, and everywhere in between, and what you can do to prep for that, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right. So I believe you have a fabulous PowerPoint share for us. And while we wait for people to log in, and so just to let everyone know that if we have time at the end, we'll answer. I won't, but Lisa will answer some questions. And I just want to I want to address a rumor from last week with the last week's webinar with Dr. Lamb. I did not attend the webinar because I couldn't properly say musculoskeletal, which was the topic last week. As Brenda might have pointed out to people, that I wasn't there because I couldn't pronunciate musculoskeletal very well. But no, I was stuck at an airport. So it was a good topic, I heard, though. So there we go. And let's see. So okay. Do we have so your Greys are chilling in their awesome room that you have for them? Is that right?
Yes, I was going to have Sam out on my shoulder just so everybody could see her. But when I went in there to get her, she was happily swinging on her swing and carrying on. And I figured we'll just let her be. And, Abby doesn't like when I have my makeup on with my eyelashes. She just wants to tear them off. So I figured I'd leave her in there. And so, yeah. So it's just me today, but you might hear them in the background.
Oh, I sense a future topic. Then we can go over how a change in your appearance can affect your birds, like wearing a hat or makeup, or right, something like that.
Yeah,
gloves. You come in from the cold.
Yes. Right? And I didn't have that response with my Amazons or my cockatiels, but Abby, for some reason, she just does not like anything around my eyes. And I went to pick her up last night, and I could just see in her eyes, she was just sizing my hand up. So I said, no, I don't think so. So I closed the door and I went to get her buddy perch. And as soon as I closed the door, she attacked one of her bells really bad, which made me happy because it shows she's feeling good. But I could just think, yeah, that would have been my hand if I didn't watch the body language. So, and then she happily stepped up on her buddy perch and she went to her tree. And I went and took off my makeup.
Yeah, someone mentioned that their bird doesn't recognize them when they get a haircut. They're like, wait, I guess birds have strong opinions of what we do with our appearances, right? Might be the case here. Same with probably glasses. Put some glasses on, like, wait a second, who are you?
I don't wear my glasses around her either. So, but yeah, they're all different. So
okay, yeah, there we go. I think that's a future topic for us. Got something outside the box. Okay, let's see. I think we got people logging on here. Do you want to take it away and we can dive into this topic and then answer questions towards the end?
Okay, here we go.
Right. Welcome everybody.
Okay, just give me a second here to get everybody down and out of my way so I can see what I'm doing. And I want to welcome everybody to part 18. I can't believe it. And I also, the Grey Way series. And also I have to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for supporting us and for being here, and for all the people that send over pictures and little stories to be in my webinars. I'm thrilled with you all. So we're going to start an owner's guide to an avian vet visit. So I'm going to kind of start out here as if you are at first looking at a baby. We have a lot of new babies on my Grey page. And what I want you to do is, when you're researching what species you want to live with, I also want you to research illnesses of what they can possibly deal with down the road. So you are aware there are certain times when I'll get questions where it's a beak question and they have a little white spot on it. And that is usually air that's gotten up into the layers and making it a little bit lighter than the rest. If it's higher up by a sear, that could be from damage, but it's usually just at the edge. And it's, you know, people don't realize these are typical things not to worry about. So you want to try to get familiar with what may happen so you don't panic down the road. For instance, grays are susceptible, or they're more known for feather picking and calcium deficiencies, vitamin A and D deficiencies, respiratory infections like aspergillosis, psittacosis, and beak and feather. So you want to learn a little bit about that in case you need to deal with it. I want you to also know who your vets are. Do your research. Don't expect a vet that does dog and cats on the corner to practice avian medicine, because they don't. You want to make sure you want to know where the closest emergency avian vet is in case your vet is closed. Many will have a referral service after hours. So I listed 2 sites there for you guys that don't know to write it down and keep it handy at all times. And I want you to research your vets and find one that's in your location. When we moved down south, that's exactly what I did with that picture there. I drew a dot in Charlotte because that's where my vet was going to be. And I put a push pin and I drew 100 miles around Charlotte. And I could have lived in any of those areas as long as I knew within 100 miles, I could get to my vet. When I was in North Jersey, I was really lucky by only having to drive an hour and 7 minutes. I didn't know it. And I was a small town girl driving into New York City on a daily basis to go in with my bird and see my bird when he was critically ill. I wish I had that now. I traveled just a little bit farther. I know that one of the most important relationships you will ever have when you have a bird is a relationship with your trusted avian vet. These are my travel times when I moved down south, or when I was in South Jersey, and then when I moved down here to South Carolina. So know that a lot of people do have to travel. I know people that travel 4 and 5 hours to get to the care that they need, and be prepared that this is something that you may have to do. Don't wait till you have an emergency to seek out this information. I mean, you don't want to let a cutie like this, you know, down. And this is Sydney with his first baby picture. I did not have him at this point, but that's when I fell in love with him. So if you get a baby, you have to know that some stores have a 72-hour window if you have a sick baby where they will possibly help pay for medical, or, not that we want to do this, but this is their wording, or exchange the baby. This well-bird visit is going to be out of pocket, but it's something very important to do. The baby's going to be too young to understand what's going on, so you're not really going to have an issue, and he's not going to fight you in the carrier because he has no clue. So if you have a baby, make sure you find out where you're getting them, where it's a breeder or a bird store, what they're willing to do and how many hours, and get your baby in there to make sure he's healthy. If you have a new bird coming in, if you are adopting or you know, taking in an older bird, it's very important to make sure you always quarantine. This is for the health of your bird at home, to make sure the new bird is not carrying anything. This is also for the health of the new bird coming in, that your bird isn't carrying anything. So you want to make sure you quarantine. You want to make sure that you take him to the vet, make sure he's healthy, and still quarantine for that, you know, that 30 to 60 day period. Usually they want separate air, separate, you know, rooms, separate clothes. There's a lot that goes into it. And do what they want you to do. You won't be sorry for it. You want to establish yourself as a client and patient before you have an emergency. You know, there's not a ton of bird vets out there. and they work really super hard and really super long hours. And you're not always going to be able to get in. Now, if you're a new patient, you've never been there, you have an emergency, they might not be able to take you. If you establish yourself as a client, they may be willing to get you in there, and they have certain slots for emergencies. And so you want to always make sure that you have a working relationship with your avian veterinarian. Consider, with either baby or bird coming in, to get pet insurance. And I did not have it with one instance with my bird that was critically ill in New York City, and I spent $7,000 in 6 weeks. And don't get me wrong, I would do it all over again. Sadly, he passed away, and I still had those bills. After that, I decided to look into pet insurance. For the most part, you are able to go to your regular avian veterinarian. You are going to pay out of pocket, okay? Then you're going to submit your paperwork into the insurance company, and then they send you a percentage back. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I will kind of let you know what happened along the way with me. But I think it's a good idea, especially if you have African Greys, because they do have some diseases that different medications work. And, you know, my bird had aspergillosis, and sadly, that is a very hard disease to treat. And it takes a long time, and it can be reoccurring. So if you have that insurance, it's there to help you along the way to make sure your bird gets the best care it can. And money's not a problem. Keep your vet info where it can be seen by all. This should include print out driving directions, which mine does, but I cut it off there because you guys don't need to know where I live. So that is, you want to have your directions to from for somebody that, for instance, like my brother might have to take my bird to the vet. He doesn't know where he's going, and he doesn't have GPS. So he needs step-by-step directions. If you have a bird sitter, you want to make sure that they know where they're going, what hospital you want to use. And I leave a blank check. I let my vets know I'm going away. I leave a blank check with my name and made out to the veterinary clinic in case it needs to be done. And this way my sitter doesn't have to worry about putting any money out. And or you can call and give your credit card number if the vets will let you, and tell them that your bird sitter has the permission to treat if need be. So you notice something different with your bird, and it's time for a vet visit. Time is of the essence. Birds will by instinct hide health issues. So what do you bring with you? Now, this is Abby when we were going to the vet. She's in the back seat. She's strapped in. She gets car sick. We'll touch on that. I sat in the back with her. Now you see this little yellow bag here. That is all Abby's stuff. So this way, she's comfortable and she has everything she needs while she's there, especially if for some reason she needs to stay. So in that little bag, I have food, because with her procedure she was having done, she couldn't eat all morning. So she was going to be hungry. I had fresh water that was just for her. I usually have fruit, because the water in the little, holders are going to spill, and that's going to make a mess. So I actually had watermelon in her treat bag as well. Or you can bring your little NutriBerries, something that's not going to spill all over the place. But you want to give them something. Also, a toy is in there for her to chew on. I also bring my own towel. Now, some vets want to use your towel, some do not, but it's a familiar towel, so they're not as scared. And any and all notes about the environment that they live in. So this is some of my notes that's in that bag. And it tells the doctor the other birds that live in my home, what their ages are, how long they've been with me, anything that might be wrong with them, their cages, their foods, and then their list of all kinds of foods, just in case, again, she has to stay there or they have to stay there. The vet knows, well, they can feed this because it's on their list. I bring pictures of their environment so they know that the birds are getting outside safely in their container or with a harness and the activities they get to do. I bring a picture of the cage and their playpens, and also a little background on what the birds have done in the past. So the vet has a very good reference of what's going on, and you want to make sure they have every piece of information that'll help your bird. When you're going in, you want to make sure you keep a journal of what is happening. These are my actual notes that I wrote out to the vet so they knew what was happening, so they could read this prior to me coming in. And you want to make sure you write it down, each day. If you see something different, write it down. Know prior to any vet visit and find out if the bird can eat or needs to be on an empty stomach. Some vets will anesthetize a patient for certain procedures, and it's important that the bird does not have food in its crop. So if you're going to have something done, whether you're going for grooming, the first time you're going in, you're going to ask, do they, calm them down with something, or are they going to be wide awake? You find all that information out because it's very important. If you're going for a procedure or the bird's going for a procedure, you're not, and the bird has food in its crop, they may not be able to do that procedure. So that is very important. You discuss before so you know. Know if your bird gets car sick. Look at that cute little girl there. That's Emma, and she gets car sick very bad. I can usually get about 45 minutes into my ride before she starts, jerking her head around and clear spit is coming out. She's covered and I have to pull over. I have to take her out. She's got it in her eyes. She's got it on her, in her nose. She's got it all over the carrier. I calm her down, and then I only get about 25 minutes per episode after that. So Emma had a sty in her eye, and we had to drive from the Jersey Shore into Philadelphia because that was closer than going into New York City. And I had wonderful vets both places. So when we were discussing that Emma had to go in there, it was the first time I was going in to Philadelphia by myself. I was scared. And now I know I'm going to have to make these stops with this bird. So I talked with my team. I'm very lucky to have a group of veterinarians that I consider my team, my friends, that I've known for many years, that I write them all and I get their opinions, and then we go together. And one of them came back and said, well, she gets sick. What you want to try is to make sure she has an empty stomach, so there's nothing for her to throw up. And you want to try ginger. Now, Emma will eat anything. So I went out, I bought the ginger root, I came home, cleaned it, sliced it up, and I gave her a piece, and she took it, she looked at me, she spit it out, and you would think I was trying to poison her. I took a bite out of it and I realized how gross it was. So I was desperate now, and I was having panic attacks because now we have to get to the vet the next day and I don't know what to do. So in my wisdom, I took some water and I chopped up some ginger and I threw it in the water, and I made ginger water. I didn't know what else to do. So the night before, I replaced her regular water with ginger water. She did not have anything to eat that morning. And then she was just given ginger water on the way out there. She did not throw up once. So I was thrilled. So now I know for my birds, Abby and Emma both get car sick. And I don't know if it's because there's something off. I don't know why humans get car sick, but these two do. And so now I know how I have to prepare the night before into that day to get them where they need to go. So this is something, if you know your bird gets car sick, you want to make sure you talk to the vet, get their opinion of what you should do. Ask them about ginger water, see what they think, and take it from there. Make sure your bird's comfortable in whatever carrier to reduce stress. find out which carrier works best for you. Now, this is just a plain dog and cat kennel. It worked great for a lot of people. You can have it flat like that, or you can put a perch in there. Some birds don't like to see where they're going. Other birds like to see everything that's around them. So that is Abby in her clear acrylic carrier, because she is a chewer. You can see she has toys in there. I'm trying to deter her, trying to calm her down. You can see the watermelon in her dishes. This is afterwards. We were getting ready to go home because she didn't have anything to eat prior, but that was to calm her down. And this way it calms me down. The other picture is me in New York City. I have one of my favorite Paco birds for my guys, and I also had a cat carrier, and that was my Amazon, and that's my little Sydney. And we were walking through the streets of New York City going to one of my vets. So you have to really find out what works for your bird to keep them calm. So if you see with Abby's carrier, she has a cover on it, because a lot of birds in the clear acrylic carriers, when you pick them up, they freak out. So if you have them covered and you do it calmly, they usually calm down, rather quickly. And no, if you do have an acrylic carrier of some sort, they get very hot inside. So that carrier I have there was that stainless steel front. That was an additional piece you had to buy to put on the front. Otherwise, any kind of carrier, if it doesn't have correct ventilation, it's going to get super hot inside, and you don't want that. Especially if it's in the sun, in the car, you're going to have problems. So be careful. So a partially covered cage for transport works wonderfully. Max was happy with that one. You can let him see as you're driving. I think he has an idea of where he's going by his look, but you can cover him if he doesn't like things. If you see him getting nervous with things zipping past him, and that's a very good option right there. You can do it either way. And then we have Zippy. Zippy is like one of my favorite little spoiled guys here. One mistake that a lot of people make is they have this carrier, and the only thing they do with this carrier is take the bird to the vet. So the bird has a fear knowing that it's going to be poked, prodded, whatever else. Probably doesn't feel good to begin with. Then it's going to be manhandled, which they have to do. But, the birds get afraid when they see the carrier. So you want to make sure whatever carrier you use, that you're taking a bird out for other options, whether it's sitting out on the deck with a little towel carrying part of it, or like Zippy likes to go on walks, or drive in the car. You want to make sure that going in a carrier does not always mean something scarier. It means that it also means that it's for fun. So you're on the way to the vet. And what you want to do is you want to distract your bird in the carrier with some toys. So, what these carriers that I have right there, they do have toy hooks. All the other ones, you could just figure something out, make sure it's nothing huge. It's something skinny. And I like to do a lot of shreddables, because when we get home, I could just throw it out. A bird that has nothing to do in a strange environment is going to be stressed even more. That's going to make us stressed. Make sure you talk to them and reassure them that everything is going okay. Maybe play games like peekaboo. When you're in the car, play some music. My Amazons loved being in the car with the radio whistling, carrying on. The louder the music, the louder the Amazon. Greys just like to kind of be a little bit distracted. Oh, there's Abby playing peekaboo. So here's a toy. Max is in his carrier. You can see he's in the car, and he's open, so he likes viewing everything that's going on. And he has a little foot toy to keep him busy on his way. So you've arrived, you checked in, and you're waiting for your appointment. What do? Most people will soothe their birds by simply chatting with the bird while they're waiting for the vet. Here we have Tony discussing what she does. Bingo seems to be very vocal and likes interacting with everybody, so doesn't really seem to be a problem with her. But if you have a bird that's scared, you want to keep the carrier closed. If it's an emergency hospital, like I had to go to last time with Abby for her echocardiogram, there's going to be dogs and cats there. So you want to make sure that if they're not used to it, they can't see it. You don't want the dog or cat barking. You want to try to keep them calm. So whether you have them next to you, partly covered, or you have them in a carrier on your lap, I don't ever suggest taking them out of their carrier in any kind of waiting room. So here's what some people have mentioned they do when they go to the vet. And I have Nancy's quote, and I highlighted the green. I picked them all up and put them on the scale to be weighed. The vet always asks the best way to hand them off, and that is fantastic. So she has a great relationship with her vet. The vet realizes that, you know, she's able to maybe handle them to keep the stress down. No, that doesn't happen all the time. Maybe once you establish a relationship, but most times it's going to be the staff and the vet that's going to be dealing with the bird. So Heidi, she'll towel her Kayik and she'll snuggle with them to calm them down. That's Abby sitting there in actually my shirt after she had her procedure, and she has a toy to chew on. Bobby sings, and Dorothy, she'll talk to the birds the whole time. Janet will calmly say it's okay and how beautiful he is and calms him down, and he fluffs out his feathers. Her red belly doesn't get stressed, so she just tells him what a good, brave boy he's been. So I highlighted a few here too. We're going to go to Cindy, and she brings her favorite blanket. I bring a favorite towel, wrap her up and hold her close until the exam time. That calms her down. If she's too upset, she does the same afterwards to calm her down. And Lori also does it at home. So, which is really good here, they're conditioning them to a towel. And if you read Adrian's there, what's in red about her cockatoos, she's conditioning so the bird will open its mouth when she's at the vet. And she started out with an action of the bird screaming, and they're working on getting him to open it when she asks. So that's fantastic. This is all conditioning, you know, for the bird to do the right behavior when they get to the vet. Once in the room, that's when it's safe and a good time to ask the staff or the nurse or whoever's in there if it's okay to take the bird out. You don't want to be in the room and just take the bird out. You don't know which, you know, door the vet is going to come in. Some vets have 2 or 3 doors in the room, depending on where they need to be in the hospital afterwards. You know, you don't know if a dog's going to be walking by. So you want to make sure you get permission before you do it, especially if you have a sick bird. You don't want to be stressing them out more. You kind of want to let them to relax. So here we have Charlie. Charlie looks young and inquisitive. I don't think he realizes he's there for an exam. He's got his little Nutriberry there. So he's nice and calm. And I'm not sure who this is, but he's waiting patiently for his exam. The owner didn't get back to me in time to put his name in there, but I think he has a feeling something's going to happen. So, you know, but this is a good time. They're in there, you know, calming them down. I know since COVID, a lot of policies have changed at the clinics where they're not going to allow the owner to come in or go back into the room. And don't get upset at this point. I know it's not what we want. We want to be there, but you know, you have to go by what they want. A lot of them have been opening up recently with Abby's last visits. I have been able to go in where Sterling, I had to sit in the parking lot just like everybody else. So for clients of a veterinary practice, when you're going in, I see a lot of this on Facebook, and I'm going to do another whole webinar on bad advice I see on Facebook, or I should say social media. I hear a lot of complaints about vets overcharging, and I don't ever want to hear that because I am 100% on the vet side. The vets that work in big practices are simply employees of the hospital. They can't really reduce your prices. They're an employee, just like ShopRite can't go and reduce your corn. If they're in their own practice, they have a tremendous overhead to pay for, including all the tools and machines to diagnose and treat your loved one, staff, insurances, and everything else. You go to that vet because they're specialized in this. They need that $100,000 machine to diagnose your bird. Be thankful that machine is there and be willing to pay for their knowledge, because that's how you're going to get your bird better. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and make sure you take pen and paper with you to write things down that the doctor says, because you will forget. I know I do all the time, because you're so upset and you don't know what's going on. And the picture there is actually my notes that I took when Abby went in. So you want to make sure you always write it down. Ask for a copy of the records for your own records at home. I keep a whole file for everybody. It might take a little bit of time for them to get it to you, but this way, if you need it, or if you need to go for a second opinion, you have the complete medical history right there in your file at home. If you don't understand what the vet is saying, don't act like you do. Don't yes them. Don't shake your head yes. Ask them to go over it with you again, because they will. And have faith that your vet is doing their absolute best to help your little one get better. For the vets that are tuning in today, some helpful hints for you as a client. Please let your clients know how the patient is expected to act or react for the next 24 to 48 hours after whatever procedure was performed. Print out an aftercare list. Now, some vets will do this, but for maybe the new vets that are tuning in, please consider doing this. Print out an aftercare list. And even the simplest of procedures like a nail trim can cause a bird to favor one leg. You know that. But when we get home and if we don't know better, we're going to panic. And then we're going to be calling your office again and going over it again. So if we have that information in front of us, we can calm down and we know when to contact you. Remember to talk to us in down-to-earth terms with procedures that may need to be done. We're upset and we don't understand what you're saying. While it's second nature for you to use the correct medical terms, maybe you want to use them and then tell them what it means in, layman's terms. While we don't understand what's happening, and that contributes to our anxiety and more stress for your staff. So those are just some ideas that would help you in your practice and help us as consumers. So this is Abby when she came home after her procedure. I did expect her to be a little funky, and I videotaped this because she was under anesthesia and she woke up, and you'll see by the video, she is moving her feet. Maybe she had pins and needles. I don't know, but she never does that. And she was falling forward because she was so, wait a minute. There we go. See how she's moving forward and moving her feet? So she did that constantly until I was able to get her in the car. And then I actually ended up having to take her out, which is against my own advice. And I had to wrap her up and hold her on my lap because she kept face planting into her water. So she couldn't hold on. She wouldn't lay down in the carrier. And she just kept, I didn't want her to, inhale water or whatever. So she had to do that. But if I didn't know that that's what was going to happen, I would be scared and I'd be calling the vet. So, and I get a lot of emails and requests after a bird's gone to a vet. Even in New Jersey, I would have people stop at my store afterwards and very concerned for different things. So this person stopped in because the bird went in for nails and wings and beak, and the bird started throwing up. Now, I don't know why the bird threw up. Maybe it was nervous. I don't know. That's a question for the veterinarian, but the bird was not drinking water or eating, and she's unstable. So I told her it could be the bird's beak is sore, could be that her little toes are sore, and to contact the vet with that information. So she did. The vet was very kind, explained things to her, and it brought everybody's anxiety down. And the little birdie's doing just fine. About 2 days out, was eating, happy, singing, carrying on. But if the customer had known this, or the client had known this prior, that the patient would act like this, then she wouldn't have so much stress. It's important for your birds to either be social, be stick trained, or towel trained. This makes it easier for everybody all the way around. Now, I hear all the time that, oh, you know, I don't want to stick train, or I don't want to towel train. And then, oh, but then how do I get my bird in a carrier, and why can't so-and-so carry them? It's kind of important for you to be able to do this. All my guys are stick trained. All my guys are towel trained. You know, my bird sitter can pick them up. Anybody can pick them up. If my guys, and I don't have a lot of people in and out of here. I don't have children. So there's not a lot going on. So my guys are used to me, but had they not been stick trained or towel trained, I would not have been able to get, that is actually, Dr. Pepperberg is holding Sydney, Dr. Wade is holding Emma and Sterling. You can see that they weren't nervous holding them, and the birds were absolutely fine. I think Sydney had a little crush there. And that painting behind it, that's a friend, Claudia made that for me, and that is Miss Emma. So it's important that you do this because the vets need to be able to handle the birds safely and calmly. It makes everybody's job so much better. So this is when I went into Pennsylvania, at University of Pennsylvania with Dr. Wire. I believe she's practicing overseas now. And Emma had a sty in her eye, but Emma hopped right up on her, and Dr. Wire was very happy. And we discussed it, and Emma got better, and I was thrilled she didn't throw up. And here we have Sophia and Dr. Brian Spear. He's out in California. See, you can see right there, stick training aids in a less stressful exam. Sophia's just sitting there. She doesn't care. Dr. Spear doesn't have to worry about the bird taking off or, being afraid. It just works out wonderfully. Here's Graybird sitting on a scale. As a side note, it's very important to have a scale and weigh your bird regularly to help monitor their weight. That's often the first thing you're really going to notice is a weight change if you don't see anything physical, like tail bobbing or open mouth breathing. Graybird has passed. He was a little old birdie, but we want to honor him, and it's just a lot easier. Like I said, stick training helped with that, so he'd step right up. Now here we have Sophia again. And she's kind of used to being handled, even though their household isn't bustling. Now, what I found very interesting with this photo is the vet tech with his hand up. Now, some people might think that he is teasing the bird, but actually he's distracting her. So Dr. Hernandez can listen to her heart and her lungs. So again, that there's nothing forceful about that, visit going on there. And I think that's fantastic. Here we have Molly. Isn't that just perfect? I'm pretty sure that's every vet's dream right there. So here we have Sydney. Towel training helps with restraints during a visit. Sydney is not a fan. So we're not exactly sure what happened to him, why he does not like it. He has white coat syndrome. He acts completely different if we're at a vet visit and he acts like the Tasmanian devil. So we have to work with, he's fine as long as he's on your hand or on a stick, but don't bring out a white towel. He's going to go after you. So here we have Max, and Max is restrained. This is typical. So if you're in your vet office and this is being done, this is 100% safe and typical. So don't get upset with this. This is how some birds have to be held to listen to their hearts, look down their throats, in their eyes, their nares, perhaps being groomed. And here we have an Amazon that is in his towel, and it looks like he's getting his nares checked, possibly his eyes. But again, this is all typical, and actually he looks pretty calm for a little Amazon there, and so does the staff. Here's Romeo. He's getting a little beak trim. So here we have Jake, and he's not really happy. So there might be some growling going on. There's probably going to be a little not thrashing, but moving around, trying to get out of the towel. This is This is normal for a bird that doesn't like to be toweled. So, you know, if you're in the vet's office and you're seeing this and you're hearing them growl and they're carrying on, calm yourself down. These are trained people. They know what to do. They're not going to hurt your bird. So you just have to take a deep breath. And the bird, of course, just like us, it's making noises. If we didn't like something and we wanted attention, we're going to be screaming and carrying on, but it's all just vocal. Jake was not happy afterwards. When they let him go, he flew up onto the light and hung up there because he was trying to get away. And I had my Amazon actually do this to me. And we let him, you know, come out of the towel, and he decided to take flight, and he landed up on top of the shelf, and he knocked everything off of the shelf, including a plant. And then he flew and he landed on a desk and knocked everything off the desk. And we were chasing, it was, you know, I was chasing him around, trying to get him to calm down, and he didn't want anything to do with it. So we want to try to condition them to be used to things like this, so we don't have any issues. I think I was just as horrified as the vet was when my Amazon was flying all over the place. He left that room destroyed. That was 20-something years ago. So here, after the exam, here is Max, and he's being calmed down by just sitting on the knee and tickling him. So he did good at his appointment. And this is really perfect. I mean, cockatoos are going to do this. They, you know, they love the attention. They want to be hugged. They want to be with you, which is a whole nother thing topic that's going to be touched on. But I'm pretty sure every vet would really like this with every species, which is not going to happen. Grays pretty much are going to hold it against you till they can bite you and then they'll be happy. But this is like the picture perfect ending for an exam. Now the exam's over, the diagnosis is given, and what happens if you need to medicate? So sometimes you can add the medication, depending on what it is, to a juice. I tend to use apple juice or tart cherry juice diluted. So you need to speak to the vet before you go and do this, because sometimes they don't want you messing with, you know, whatever it is they made up. Other times they say, yes, you can mix it. There are vets that will use the Avicakes, the Metaberries, and the Nutriberries, and they can inject medication. If they're at the clinic, they can inject the medication into it. We can't do that, but we can certainly drop the medication on the product. When using food as an option, as an avenue to deliver medication, make sure the bird consumes all the food prior to being given any other kind of food. So if you have to medicate in the morning, like I do with Abby, she has 2 medications we need to do. So, you know, I take care of everybody's cages. Everybody goes in except for Abby. I get her medication. She takes her medication. Once she's done with that, then we put her in a cage, because she'll take it out of a syringe, put her in a cage, and she's able to have her other food. If you're using a product, if you're mixing it in with something, or you're putting it on something and they have their food already, they're not going to really want to eat it. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using is consumed first before you give them regular food. When you're giving medications, you want to keep a close eye on their droppings. They are going to change somewhat. They do change somewhat with different foods that they eat. So you want to monitor them for change. If something different is noted, then contact your vet and let them know. Then we come back to the scale. If there's more than 10% body weight loss, your vet should be notified. Sometimes the medications will make the birds lose their appetite, especially if it's like the some of the antifungals that they use. Or if they're not happy with the medicated diet, they may slow with eating. And that's concerning, because if a sick bird, you want to keep their weight up. Other medications, like I said, can be mixed with juice, hand feeding formula, or baby foods. Nothing, of course, with a baby food that's got meat or avocado or anything. I just stick to the easy banana or applesauce type thing. And if this is something you need to speak to your vet first, before you do it. So remember to ask questions. So here we have Sammy. This is not my Sammy. This is Jen's Sammy. And let me see here. There's no sound. So Sammy has no problem taking his medication, and they've been doing this for a long time. So that's good. She has the birds trained. If you want to try to train your bird, what you're going to do is you're going to get a little syringe. Sometimes your pharmacies will have them to, if you go get your medication, sometimes they'll give you one, and they'll take the needle off. And as long as you're telling them what to do, what you're doing, otherwise you can buy them. You want to put a little juice in it, and you want to show the birds that not all stuff that comes out of the syringe is yucky. So I can walk in my room and give any of my birds a syringe and they'll all come for it. So you want to try to keep that up, start it up. I like cranberry juice. It's good for women. It's got to be good for them. So cranberry juice, apple juice. If you're using some particular pellets, you want to limit the citrus, but you can try orange juice. And you don't want to do it every day, obviously. So maybe if you start and you maybe do it like maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. So it's kind of a special treat. And this way the bird's used to the syringe, they're not afraid of the syringe, and they'll take it easily. It's much more easy to do it like that than having to wrap them up or hold them to try to get them to take their medication. So here is Abby. We have to do this twice a day. And here she is taking her medicine. So my guys will actually watch her and look at me like, okay, where's my juice? So there you go. So a lot of people will ask, after a vet visit, will your bird hate you? And that always brings me back to a lecture I was in with Dr. Susan Friedman. And that question was posed to her, and she said, paraphrasing, but something to the response of, your relationship with your bird, you want to think of it like this. Your relationship with the bird and positive interactions are like depositing money into your bank account. You keep depositing, and someday when you need to make a withdrawal, something that the bird doesn't want to necessarily do, you built up trust, and it's there to cover what's going on. So I haven't had any of my guys really hold anything against me. Emma might for other reasons, but not necessarily having to go to the vet. If you're able to keep them calm and you're able to keep calm, again, it's easier for the whole vet team. It's easier for your bird. It's easier for you. So I hope that your flock stays happy and healthy. And if you ever need to follow these tips, I hope you do. I'm going to stop share and take some questions if we have any.
Okay, let's see what we have. Oh, let's see while I wait for, we do have a question right back. Just curious if you guys want to raise your hand if you do have pet insurance for your bird. Just curious. So what we have with our viewers today.
I'll raise my hand.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, so far I got 2 raised hands. So
there's also another thing at most vet clinics, it's called care credit.
That's
so you can go there and you can apply for that right there at the vet office. I believe it's 6 months interest free, as long as you pay it off within the 6 months. If you do not, I think it goes up something astronomical to like 23.99%. But there are many options. Some people will have health insurance. Some have their own bank account that they put money in. That's for medical for the birds only. I have a medical fund just for Abby. I also have a credit card that is nothing but for the birds, and I have insurance. And that's because of what I went through with my Gray.
Oh, all right. That's good to know. That's some relief. Hopefully that prevents it from becoming a hurdle to take your bird into the vet right there.
Correct.
So here's a question for you from Rhonda. They say, first of all, so glad this topic is coming up because their bird Charlie is at the vet now getting microchipped.
Yep.
So let's see, how to do this now while I have the finances since I'm being let off from my job as part of a big layoff. Wanted to do this and get more food while I have the paycheck to do it. That's right. That's
Right.
kind of how you have to go sometimes.
Right, right. And that's a good thing. A lot of people are microchipping. You
Yeah,
know,
so
in
what
case
advice
that,
today do you have when they pick them up from the vet? Like what advice do you think like the take home care would be for a microchip?
well, I think Charlie's probably going to be a little woozy. Because I think they do have to anesthetize it, or I'm not using the right term. I think they have to calm him down a little bit to put the chip in. So he's going to be probably a little woozy. He's probably not going to be out sitting on your head because I know Rhonda and Charlie. Probably not going to be on your head tonight. He's probably going to want a little bit more snuggling, and probably won't be eating as much. But talk to your vet and see what else is going to be going on, and probably by tomorrow he'll be all good to go again.
Okay. All right. And then Danielia asks, bird insurance doesn't cover the pre-existing conditions. Is that correct? Even if there's no diagnosis, just a bunch of testing is done?
Correct. It does not. What it used to be another company, and they only insured birds to a certain age. So when I got Sammy, Abby, and Sterling, who were all older, I always had insurance on Sydney and Emma. But as I got the older birds in, I tried to get them insured and they would not because there was a cutoff. So the company was bought. I actually heard from somebody on my page that they were accepting older birds. So you call in, they're going to ask you some questions, then they'll decide whether, yes, they can do it. There will be, like with Abby, I was finally able to get insurance on her because I was turned down twice. So she has listed pre-existing conditions that are not covered. But with Sterling, he had issues in the past. Those are, they're not counting them anymore because it's been over so many years and so on and so forth. But with Greys, I think it's really important to have insurance.
Do you know how if you adopt a bird and you don't know their age exactly, how do they report that? I mean, how do you write when you fill in the form?
When they ask you, you're only going to guesstimate because you have to call into these companies and they're going to ask the questions. Now, I told them Sterling was 40. Abby is 25. Sterling was accepted right away, right then and there. He was accepted. Abby got put off. Then she got denied again. And then, they wanted all her records, and I had to send all her records. And then they decided, okay, well, we'll insure her, but not her not her heart, not the lump on her, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
we have a question from Nan about Amazon that has her annual checkup next week. So what diagnostics should they make sure that the vet does? Is there any go-to diagnostics?
It really depends why you're going. Usually when they go, they're going to do, for just a routine, they're going to do blood work. They're going to listen, to the heart and the lungs and look at its nose and its ears and its eyes and down its throat and, check its beak and its toes and its cloaca, and make sure everything's looking good. Unless there's an issue or unless there's something that you're noticing that's wrong, they're probably not going to get into a bunch of big tests. Now, with a well bird visit, or I should say a baby visit, my average cost for a baby visit in New York City, and you're talking 20 years ago, I was paying about $750, I think, for all the tests to be done. So that's all your major diseases, and the blood work and, getting a baseline and all that kind of stuff. So, that's, It really depends on what you're going for.
Was there a difference in price if you're bringing more than one bird? No. Just wondering if it was, because,
That's why I'm very cautious with who comes to my house. My birds are never around anybody else's birds. I know because I have 6 parrots I've paid that price for to make sure that they're healthy.
Yeah.
And just one person coming in with a sick bird, or that's why I didn't allow them in the store either. I didn't allow birds in my store. Same reason, because then that $3,000 I spent on everybody's test now went down the drain.
Do you have a preference for bringing in, if say you have 6 birds, to bring in like not just one for their single vet visit, but do you schedule 2, 3 birds the same? Have you ever done that? Is that logistically challenging?
Yes, yeah. In New York City, I actually brought two birds in and came home with 3. That's when I picked up Sam. So yeah, so it's you can do that. I always tell people to try to go in the morning if they can. This way, in case you have to, not hold food back. That's when I would prefer to go. I'm not a morning person. My friends all know that. And now I have a 2-hour ride. So, I'm not going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be there at 9. So.
That's a good point. All right. So someone asked, how do you towel train? That's from Ruth. Wants to know how you towel train. Is there a process specifically?
Well, you could start out playing peekaboo. Okay. So they can make it fun. So you start out playing peekaboo, see how they respond. I mean, if she wants to do it with me with Skype, I can give her ideas what to do, and I can watch the bird and see how he's reacting. So if you're playing peekaboo, and that's fine, you can take the towel up, maybe wrap it around him a little bit, see how he responds. If he feels like it's a threat and he goes to flinch, then you want to take it slower. Some people just go right up to the bird and go peekaboo and wrap it around, and they're fine. Other birds are playing peekaboo for weeks. So.
And do you have a towel color preference? Like, do you use white towels so you can kind of see what's going on if they regurgitate while you're driving, or if they?
Well, I usually have white towels because Sammy spent a good part of her life at hospitals for breathing issues that she had. And so her former owner bought a whole bunch of white towels. So I have all white towels. I'll put them in the carry, and then I also layer paper towels on there so I can monitor poop. Now, if you have a problem that the bird, has more runny poop or something like that, you might want to put down, as long as the bird can't chew on it, a wax paper. Okay. Because the vets can look at that better than if they can on a paper towel. So, but I never went for an issue with anything like that. So I always put on a paper towel, or what I've also done is the morning poop. When I know when they're going to go, I'll go underneath it and I'll put wax paper underneath it, and then I'll pull it out, and then I'll neatly put it in tinfoil, the whole thing, and give it to the vet.
You're like, I got a package delivery for you. That's
There
nice.
you go.
Yep, I brought you a treat.
Exactly.
Heidi wants to know, as far as medical records go, is it reasonable to request copies of like the X-rays,
Yes.
Especially the ones that are seeking treatment for more than one vet? So if you're looking like maybe for a second opinion, or multi-vet approach.
Yeah, I have X-rays. So I would suggest them, because you want to be able to look, in the future. I mean, I've always had it. I've had 2 grays that had aspergillosis. We're talking back in the 90s and 2000s. If they take a X-ray, things have changed. Everything's digital now. But they would share the X-ray of the lungs and how it was, all impeded. And then, they would share as we're going along if they were getting better or whatever. And there was one point, actually, because back in the 90s, I was not aware of anybody in New York City. I was young myself. The vet I was working with was just a local vet, and I went to her office, and she didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what was going on. And she actually, after hours, had me come back, and we were looking through books, and we were looking under the microscope, trying to compare things to see what was going on. And then we heard of a traveling vet that was going to be up at a friend's house, and they gave me the X-rays, and I took the X-rays up to the traveling vet, and he was diagnosed with aspergillosis, so we knew how to treat.
Wow.
So, yep.
Well, I have to announce today's giveaway winner. Forgot we have a giveaway every time. And so this today's winner is going to be Steve Riddle. Congratulations, Steve. You'll be getting the classic Lafeber pellets, the diet that started it all 50 years ago. Where's my little thing there? Yeah, right here. 50, wait. Oh, right in the corner here. As well as another Lafeber bag of Lafeber food of your bird's choice. So congratulations. And let's see. So I think that's all we have time for questions today, but thank you very, very much, Lisa. Hopefully that'll make everyone's upcoming vet visits go smoother than it might have otherwise been. And they'll be better prepared.
And what one important thing is you have an issue with your bird. You can't be all panicky and flustered because they're going to see that and they're going to react. So always make sure you take a deep breath and be strong for them. There
you go. All right. That's actually really, really good to keep in mind too, especially if you have a bit of, if you've got a little bit of a drive, you just got to find a way to stay relaxed, right? For your cargo, your precious cargo on board there. All right. On that note, I was going to let everyone know, next Friday, we're going to be on with Dr. Tom Tolley with another episode of Ask the Vet. So, if you have any questions for a vet, keep them in mind this week coming up, and join us on Friday, next Friday, April 28th. All right, guys. Lisa, again, thank you. Wonderful presentation. I love these Gray Way series.
Thank
you. Everyone have a great weekend. All the best to you and your flock, and everyone stay safe. Until next time. Bye.